सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So last time we discussed how Arjuna, being inspired by the teaching of Lord Krishna, that one should perform the actions with evenness of mind, yogastha kuru karmani, samatvam yoga uchyate. So he was inspired, so he coined a word, sthita prajna. And sthita prajna means a person of stable mind. And he wanted to know from Lord Krishna, what are the characteristics of asthita prajna? So first he coined the word himself, and then he asked about the characteristics, the external characteristics of asthita prajna. How does he function in the world? Kimasita vrajeta kim. How does he sit? How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he live? And in reply to his question, Lord Krishna, instead of telling the external characteristics, he actually told him the internal characteristics of such a person. Because externally, different people will show different traits. But internally, the goal is that everyone would like to move towards being a sthita prajna. Moving towards being a sthita prajna means trying to have that stability of mind. And then Bhagavan defines in the first shloka who is a sthita prajna, and he says, the one who has given up all desires born out of mind. And in the same breath he says, one who is fulfilled, or a sense of fulfillment within, by himself, from within. Now, both of them they go hand in hand. When Lord Krishna says, one who has given up all desires, of course, we have already discussed that it is not the person is in a state of coma or paralysis. Because even to breathe, one has to desire to live. So it is not like that. Given up all desires means one who has given up desires in which one is beneficiary, or one feels the necessity to fulfill desires to have a sense of fulfillment. most of the times we chase our desires because fulfillment of desires gives us a sense of fulfillment for me. Whereas a person who is already self-fulfilled from within, one who doesn't have that sense of lack or smallness or incompleteness, for that person, fulfillment of desires have very little meaning. And we also saw that example that I mean, with reference to certain games like Snake and Ladder or the game of Ludo, at one point of time, it was something, a very serious affair. Winning the game was very, very important because it would give us a sense of fulfillment. But in due course, later in life, the same game doesn't give that sense of fulfillment, even though a person can play the same game after 20 years with one's own grandson or or son, whatever, and still and can pretend to be happy while winning or pretend to be sad while losing. Yet the sense of, because the person doesn't derive the sense of fulfillment from that particular event, so that person is sthita prajna with reference to that game, the snake and ladder game or the Ludo game or whatever game it is. So it is actually deriving a sense of fulfillment from fulfilling the desires that makes us either a sthita prajna or not a sthita prajna. And fulfilling the sense of fulfillment coming out of fulfillment of desire comes because there is a sense of inadequacy. I feel myself small, inadequate. I need certain things to make myself feel full, complete, and to remove that incompleteness, I continue to fulfill my desires. So that is how things keep on moving. Why to even talk of the Bhagavad Gita? I have read one of the books, I think it's called The Erroneous Zones by Dr. Wayne Dyer or somebody, yeah. There again, that person talks about how we can, from a person whose compass or whose reference is centered on the outside world, from there, how that person can make self as the reference instead of depending upon approval from outside, depending upon fulfillment of desires from outside, and then be happy or contented. A person can shift that whole thing within and feel the sense of completeness. In fact, this book, it's such a nice book, and many of you must have already read it also. And those who have not, they should go through it. It makes a person more mature, and it also, I would say, it gives half the sense of what Sthita Prajna is being talked about in the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, it doesn't talk about the spiritual discipline and the vision of the whole, because unless that vision of the whole is there, and that becomes part of my life or start becoming part of my life, that sense of fulfillment will be incomplete, or it could even gradually degenerate or get scattered. But even to understand what the Bhagavad Gita says, and even to be open to that vision of fullness or completeness, one has to be free from those erroneous zones. And it talks about many of the erroneous zones. The brief summary is, we are captive of our own emotional self, and our own emotions keep guiding us, keep dragging us, and it prevents us from being anchored within oneself. We keep on looking for anchors outside, emotional anchors outside. So that way, it's a very good book. Then we also saw, since the person, the Sthita Prajna who is being talked about, derives the sense of fulfillment from within, therefore, that person is not affected by difficult situations outside or pleasant situations outside emotionally. Dukheshu anudvigna manaha, sukheshu vigataspriha, वीतराग भय क्रोध स्थितधीहि मुनिरुच्यते यस्सर्वत्र अनभिस्नेहः तत्तत् प्राप्य शुभाशुभम नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. And we also saw last time that difficult situations will definitely come in one's life. Unless one is prepared to handle such situations, and unless one learns about it, one may get paralyzed in such situations, or it may leave irreversible damages within oneself. So it is something which everybody needs to learn. It is not something for especially for some people or people with old age. In fact, it is very much for people who are in the younger age, because they are the people who face challenges in life and whose mind is not yet prepared enough to handle those challenges and handle the ups and downs of life. And many times they feel paralyzed, and such paralysis can become, if it continues for some time, it becomes irreversible. So the knowledge of the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, that how to handle the situations with evenness of mind is very much applicable even to the younger people, or to talk about people of any other age. Then last time, as we discussed, we in the question and answer sessions, we also saw how important it is to have a vision of the Almighty, because that is something which is constant. And we talked about the movie The Castaway, and how Wilson was so important, even though that Wilson was nothing but a deflated, I think, basketball or a volleyball with a finger imprint of blood, and then a face was made out of it by that hero, the character in the movie. And yet that Wilson kept this hero, this actor, sane in the movie. Without Wilson, he would have been insane and lost hope of life. So we all need such Wilson. And that such Wilson is nothing but what we call as the Easter Devata. Everyone has their own Easter. Easter means somebody whom you love or whom you like, your liking, Devata of your liking. So that is what the Wilson of one's life. And we all need it. Then, Rajesh ji, could you please show us sloka number 59?
59, right?
59.
Okay, give me one second.
Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina. I had sent it last time.
Yeah.
No, previous to this.
No, this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Vishayaha vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. Rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. So what Lord says in this sloka, a person who is practicing what? Shunning away from the sense pleasures, deliberately not getting involved in sense pleasures for a length of time with lot of effort. Even for that person, for the time being, that those sense objects don't drag this person, and the person behaves like a stable-minded person. But if the person has not got that vision of fullness, that completeness, the sloka is gone. Rajesh ji, can you please?
That is.
Yeah. So I'll continue.
Yeah.
By practicing withdrawal from sense objects, one may conquer the being dragged away into sense pleasures. Okay, one may conquer one's mind, but that conquering is temporary. Unless one has that vision of the complete, of fullness, what is called as param drishtva nivartate. Once that vision comes, then this control or this capacity not being dragged away by the sense objects, that becomes stable. Otherwise, sense objects and sense organs, they have a tendency, if they will come in contact with each other, no matter how much you try, gradually the sense organs will get dragged into the sense objects. Only with a vision of fullness, completeness, one's own identity, that I am not a limited person, not a limited individual within, encased in this body. Only with that vision, it will, the capacity to not being dragged away by sense objects will stay. Otherwise, it won't stay. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratisthita.
Do you see that now?
Yeah, but they are smaller in size.
I cannot see it, unfortunately.
We can see it, but the size is small.
Yeah, like for unfortunately, I am not able to see it, my screen. That's
Oh,
something happened here actually.
this is fine.
Okay, otherwise I'll just leave the meeting and join again, please, if you
Yeah,
don't mind.
no problem. No problem. Sure.
Something happened in my settings, and I'm
Doesn't
not.
matter. Doesn't matter. So, tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparah vashehi yasya indriyani tasya prajna pratisthita. Therefore, one, one should strive to control one's senses, and one should strive to give oneself, surrender oneself to the Almighty, that complete self, because a person in whom whose sense organs are under control, only that person's prajna is pratisthita. Only that person will have a stable mind. Now, these two shlokas, they follow.
Acharya ji, give me the permission to co-host actually.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have to give you again.
Sorry about that. Today
That's
something.
okay. No problem. No problem. It happens. Here, please. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषुपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Now this gives us the next set of slokas, Rajesh ji.
Okay, sure.
It's called a Karanamala. There is a sequence, how things develop. It's very important we see this. Dhyayato visayan pumsa. When a person starts thinking about sense objects, sangas teshu pajayate, the person develops an attachment towards those sense objects. Sangat sanjayate kamaha. That attachment gradually converts into a strong desire to have it. Kamat krodho vijayate. And from that strong desire arises anger. Now, how does anger arise from strong desire? Because when a strong desire arises, at times it is fulfilled and one is happy. But there are times when it is not fulfilled, then one becomes angry about it. Okay, one loses control. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. And from that anger, the intellect gets covered. Okay. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. And once the intellect gets covered, one loses one's learning, old learnings, whatever memory one has, one's own experience. Okay, one loses that because the mind is clouded. Knowledge is not handy. The experience is not handy. Smriti bhramshad buddhi nasha. And when one loses that connect with the old experience or memory, then buddhi nasha. The person's intellect is as though destroyed. Buddhi nashat pranashyati. And once intellect is not available, it behaves as if it is destroyed. The person is destroyed. So this is how the connection between dwelling upon the sense objects to the loss of person, the fall of person. Of course, in between, the connect is when the desires are not fulfilled. And definitely we are not the masters. Every time we cannot control all the shots. We cannot control when my desire arises, it will get fulfilled. That is not in our control. Desires arise, sometimes they get fulfilled, at other times they are not. And once they are not fulfilled, then the whole problem arises. And if I am not ready, not equipped to handle that situation, I'm lost. Raga dvesha viyuktaistu vishayan indriyaicharan atmavashyer vidheyatma prasadam adhigacchati. So a person who is free from raga dvesha, or in whom raga dvesha, likes and dislikes, are under control, such a person who is under control of himself, even while moving through the sense objects, doesn't get affected and remains in peace of mind. So the entire story is actually, Bhagavad Gita tells us, yes, winning is important. We should be winners. But it is equally important, or sometimes all the more important, to learn how to lose. Because losing is also part of the game. Most of the times, we are inspired by winning stories. We are inspired by winners. But we never know, for one winning story, there are 10 losing stories. And losing stories are never discussed. So we have a dream in our mind that everybody is a winner and winning is important and nothing else is important. Whereas it is all the more important that I learn how to lose without losing myself. Otherwise, if when I lose myself completely, and that's really very bad. Next shloka. I sent it today.
Yeah.
नास्ति बुद्धिः अयुक्तस्य न च अयुक्तस्य भावना न च भावयतः शान्तिः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्. One who has not controlled his mind or managed his mind, and senses can have no control over the intellect. Senses can have no determinate intellect, fine, nor contemplation. And without contemplation, he can have no peace of mind. And without peace of mind, how can there be happiness? So this is all connected. A person whose senses are not under control, that person can never have peace of mind. And the one who doesn't have peace of mind, how can that person derive happiness? So mastery over the senses, how to deal with the situations, how to deal with the sense objects without being carried away, and keeping the balance of mind. This is what is being talked about here. Indriyanam hi charatam yanmanonu vidhiyate tadasya harati prajnam vayurnavam iva ambhasi. A person who is constantly dwelling in the sense objects, or in the senses, very soon the person's prajna means the intellect, the stable mind, gets carried away. How? Just as Vayuhu navam iva ambhasi. How the wind carries away a boat in the water. Similarly, one's own prajna, the intellect, gets carried away. Apuryamanam achala pratishtham. Next sloka. Samudramapah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamaha yam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kama kami. Okay. Before going into the next sloka, let me summarize, because today's matter is quite heavy. The question may arise. It is talking so dry. Finally, what do you want to say? Don't derive pleasure from sense objects? Is that what you want to say? Because if you try to do it, it's dangerous. You are scaring us. Well, nobody is scaring anything or anybody, but just cautioning you. We all deal with electricity, correct? Even the devices we run. But we are cautioned about the short circuits or even electrocution if it's a high voltage electricity. Unless I know how to protect myself from that electric shock or electrocution or the short circuiting, which can cause fire, I cannot use electricity. So, yes, we are in this world of sense objects. We have senses. We are not paralyzed people. We are not persons in coma. We are active people. So we'll definitely, the sense objects will interact with the sense organs. But then, what are the pitfalls one should know? Unless I develop that habit of dealing with sense objects with that evenness of mind, of situations with the evenness of mind, I will be dragged away. And one day there will be a big accident and I'll be lost. I tell you, I'm telling the trend in India, okay? Because I interact with people, and especially now the trend has changed after the COVID, okay? The statistics are all different. I'm talking about the pre-COVID period. The trend had become, at least in the northern part of India, south is not that bad. 1 in every 5 families. So you take 5 families, 1 out of every 5 family has 1 child or a person who is depressed and paralyzed. Such a sad story. 1 in 5 families. And when that happens, the entire family works towards keeping that person away from depression. But it's a chronic depression. They try to appease that person, try to provide means of entertainment, spending money, partying, providing food in hotels, restaurants, visiting places, just to keep that person happy and with a hope that the person will come out of depression. And it doesn't happen. In fact, it gets worsens. The person becomes demanding. Apart from being depressed, listen very carefully, the person also becomes demanding. And so much of energy and wealth of that family goes in that one person. That was 1 in 5 families. During and later part of the COVID period, I hope it is a reversible trend, it's not irreversible. It was moving towards 1 in 3 families. 1 in 5 families to 1 in 3 families. So it's an epidemic in itself, this depression. We didn't teach the whole generation how to handle difficult situations. We only taught how to handle good situations, how to earn more, and how to, as I always say, create mountains of trashes. We have, if you go to Delhi, I'm talking of India, if you are aware of Delhi, when you enter Delhi from Ambala, Chandigarh area, from that direction, first thing you recognize Delhi has come. How? There is a mountain of, that is Timarpur area or what, some area like that. So mountain of trashes. So human beings have made mountains of what? Of all junk material. Same thing happens in Chandigarh area. There are areas where every day vans they go with waste material and they dump it and the mountain is created. So we are creating mountains of trashes, and of course we are a perennial manure making machine. Mountains of food we eat and mountains of manure we create. This is what we teach. And we say the bigger mountain you can create, the happier you are, the more successful you are. And that's the measurement of success and happiness. So this is what we teach. We don't teach that no, being master of the senses is also happiness, is also success. Those things we have kept for those useless sannyasis who can't do anything, who are left out, who couldn't gain anything. That's why they have given. We are not talking of sour grapes. But it is important that we also teach the generation that yes, okay, one has to deal with the sense objects and the sense organs when one interacts, when derives the pleasure, all different types of experience, all that is fine. But one also needs to have certain disciplines, fasting, getting up early, allowing the body to go through certain difficult situations voluntarily, just to have a stronger willpower, just to create within oneself the capacity not to get paralyzed by difficult situations. Possibly that thing we don't teach. And once that is not taught, either verbally or through behavior, the children will not learn, and this disease of depression, I call it disease, it keeps on spreading, and it's very sad. And then 1 in 5 families, it also includes cases where they resort to taking drugs, etc. Some don't take drugs, yet they are depressed. So all kinds of varieties are there. So therefore, it is important that we are not scaring you away from enjoyment of sense objects. We are cautioning you. Be prepared. Don't get electrocuted by the electricity. Use the electricity. We can't avoid it. In fact, we have to use it. Use it wisely, but don't get electrocuted. So, the interaction of sense objects with sense organs is like electricity. If you If you know how to use it properly, smartly, everything is fine. But if you don't know, you may get a big shock. It may have reversible damages, it may have irreversible damages. So this is what is being talked here. It's not, we are talking negative, we are against sense pleasures or this or that. No, we are against being slave to senses, not against enjoyment of sense objects by sense organs. No, not against that, but be a master of it rather than being a slave of it. So that is the theme, and that is important, and that's very relevant. It's not only for people of certain age or people of, and who doesn't have miseries or dukkha in life? Everybody has. Before the misery starts, if one is prepared, maybe one is able to handle that misery well. Already, if the misery has begun, then learning becomes even more difficult. Because already one is occupied with that difficult situation. The mind is occupied. There is very little room left for learning new things. Yes, still whatever room is there, one can learn and one can still come out of it. But it is much easier when one is already not in a miserable situation, not in a difficult situation, and is aware of these pitfalls. Then handling those difficult situations of life becomes much easy. Otherwise, failing in one exam, one gets depressed. Losing some money in some business, one gets depressed. Losing job, one gets depressed. Not getting good grades or not being able to complete one's course in one's academics, one gets depressed. Somebody's death in family, one gets depressed. Boyfriend, girlfriend, some breakup, one gets depressed. Death of one's spouse or near and dear ones, one gets depressed. There's so many reasons to get depressed. Why it happened? Because not enough attention was paid to the yoga, samatvam yoga uchyate. That time they thought, we are too young, nothing will happen to us. And we are winners. We have been winning, so we will continue to win. It doesn't happen. Life changes. Times change. Many things change. Many things change expectedly. Many things change unexpectedly. If I'm not prepared how to handle it, I'll be just carried away, swept away. And then nothing can happen. So that is why it is important, this topic of Sthita Prajna. It is not just for sannyasis or people who have left the world. Nobody has left the world. They are very much within this world. Leaving the world means dying. It's not that. They have understood certain things. They don't want to be carried away by it. So they lead a certain different lifestyle, certain different attitude towards life. That's all. So with this, we stop here, and I throw open the session for questions and answers. The more questions we have, the better, because that gives us an idea how much is understood or what is expected or what is not clear, etc.
Navneet ji, this is Anil.
Yeah, namaste.
Namaste ji. Just a quick observation. First of all, very interesting in terms of being prepared for whether failures or difficulties in life, which always happen. But at a very young age, we always have been taught to have expectations or what we call goals. And in terms of setting a standard which is perhaps higher. I guess what you're saying is that those things are still okay, but we have to be trained in our mind to expect whatever comes. So is it like saying that just accept whatever comes and just keep on going?
Yes. Learn to accept whatever comes and then replan what is to be done next. Rather than brooding over it, crying over it, be prepared. Things may happen the way you expect. Things may not happen the way you expect. Then you should have a plan B, C, or D. Like earlier in childhood, you have a goal, certain goal, that after 8th standard, 10th standard, 12th standard, or whatever, after graduation, you would go for this particular field or this particular line, whatever you want to go. It may happen, yes, good. What mistake we do is we give too much of importance to these lines. Believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you will succeed. Yes, if you believe in yourself, your chances of success will be definitely higher. But don't say you will succeed. You may still fail. Because the day you want to appear for the examination or the interview, you may get a headache. You may get a fever and you are lost. 1 year is gone. Next year, who knows? So yes, believing in yourself is important. Say that your chances of success will increase manifold. Don't say you will succeed. It's all probability game. Don't make probability as 100. Never it is. And that is where we make mistakes. Okay, we try to encourage that person, motivate that person. That is good. But we have to be little careful in the words. We can say that your chances will become very close to 100%. No harm, but don't say 100%. And therefore, you should have a plan B or C. Suppose it doesn't go through. Then what will you do? No, don't think negative. You just think you will succeed, then you will succeed. This is a shit. This is leading to 1 in 5 families.
I agree.
Syndrome. You say, yes, all my blessings are there, all my good wishes, and you will succeed. But in case you don't, what is your plan B or C or D? That way, what I'm doing, I'm preparing that person for that small probability of losing, which is the same thinking. That's all. That may prevent a big shock or a big depression. Am I clear, Anilji?
Yes. Thank you. That's very clear.
So nothing changes. Only a slight, small change in statement. Instead of saying you will 100% you will succeed, you say you will be. The chances of success is very close to 100.
So what that means is we also should maintain the same standard or high standard or whatever we feel we perhaps should aim for in the goals, right? But what you're saying is plan B in case it doesn't work.
Yes. If NASA wants to launch a rocket, they will launch. They do all checks. Yet 1 in 100 or 1 in 500 rockets do not fire up, or they get lost in the space. That's how we have Kalpana Chawla episode. And one is prepared. And listen, it's not an impractical idea. Don't we purchase insurance policies? Tell me. Why do we? Why do we? Tell me.
Just in
We'll
case.
be very confident. No, I won't die in between. There won't be any accident in my life. Nothing is going to happen. That's a positive attitude. Continue with that. Shit. That's a shit. On one hand, we have that tendency of buying insurance policies because there's always a chance. It may be 0.01% or even lesser. Doesn't matter. Still we do it. When we buy insurance policies, why can't we give insurance advice to our youngsters? That there's a small chance. If it doesn't work, then you should have a backup. That's all. That's a prudent thing, and that's a mature thinking. Otherwise, it's a foolhardy thinking. And that foolhardiness leads to disasters. The youngster takes it very seriously, sometimes becomes overconfident, or doesn't gauge the competition, or doesn't gauge something, loses, and just gets destroyed.
Thank you. That's clear.
Any other question?
That was very good tip, Navneet ji, to preparing the younger kids actually.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and it's very simple. Nothing very complicated or mysterious I've talked about. It is just to say that there is a chance. You just prepare them to lose and work for success. Work for success, but prepare them to lose. That's all. Okay, stop here.
Anybody else? I think somebody was trying.
I was trying earlier, but I think I can ask next week. It's getting late, so.
No, it's
You
okay.
know.
We have still
Yeah,
have, we
quickly
still have some
you
time.
ask, and if required, I can answer next week,
Okay.
or I may answer
So,
now.
so along this topic, like we also talked about, we didn't discuss today, but we have our prarabdha karma that will happen in this lifetime, and how much of a free will we have. Can we remove our prarabdha karma to take over something? Let's say prarabdha karma, something bad is going to happen. How much of plan A, B, C we
Yeah.
have to avoid that.
I know. There's no one answer to it. It depends how strong is the prarabdha karma. The prarabdha karma is too strong. Really speaking, nothing much we can do. Okay? It is like I have a cup of hot water. Now, how much warmth it can give, it depends on the remaining bucket of water, how hot or cold that water is. If the full bucket of cold water, freezing water is there, 1 cup of hot water is not going to do anything. It's practically no effect. But if the bucket of water itself is not that cold, it's just lukewarm, then 1 cup of hot water definitely adds to that warmth and makes us feel that warmth. Same thing with prarabdha karma. If prarabdha karma is not that strong, then one can definitely work towards it and change it. But sometimes it is very strong, and then one has to go through it, bear it. Nothing much one can do about it. And that prarabdha karma, whether how strong it is or how weak it is, sometimes we get a sense by ourselves, or we have something called astrology, and it does talk about those prarabdha karma. It does predict, and it does tell how strong or weak it is, and accordingly tells us different upayas, different methods to deal with it. Those things do exist. That's how astrologers survive all over the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you.